Welcome to the Ask the Zamboni Experts podcast. I'm Marty Elliott, your host. And today's guest, we have Ryan Gowan, who's the operations manager of the Sports Center at the Western Fair District in London, Ontario. Ryan, thanks for joining us. How are you today?
I'm good. Thanks for having me on, Marty.
Ryan, how long have you been working at the Western Fair?
So I've been working at the Western Fair just going on 10 years now.
What role did you start at when you entered into the industry, Ryan?
So I kind of started out from the bottom. I was just facility attendant, cleaning rooms, moving nets, things like that. I then got my refrigeration B ticket. So I got into a full-time role as an operations supervisor at Western Fair, and then did a couple years as the lead hand, and then just going on 2 years now as the operations manager.
I want to say, if I'm not mistaken, the Western Fair District was probably one of our first customers on our version 1 FastICE system. Is that correct?
I believe it is correct. We purchased a new machine in 2015 that had both the version 1 FastICE and the laser level, which I believe was the first machine of its kind to have both. Yeah, so I believe we were one of the first to have it.
How's it worked out for you guys as far as yourself, both in operations and management level now, and with your other operators? How are they adapting to it? What are the goods, the bads, the uglies?
I think it's been pretty well received. Even some of the older school operators, they really like the FastICE system. I think the big thing with it is the consistency that you can get out of it for floods. And that's the same across the board, whether you have a part-time driver who has maybe a year experience under their belt to some of our operators have 10 to 25 years experience. And the nice thing with the FastICE is that no matter who's behind the wheel, you have a consistent flood from the water standpoint, because the way that it adapts to the speed of the machine with the disbursement of the water. And I think that's a big thing for a facility of our size, is to have consistent floods to ensure that we're putting out a quality sheet of ice every time. And I think that's important, especially from a management standpoint. Everything comes down to safety. And I think if you can have consistent flooding across the board, no matter who's driving the machine, I think that's an important part.
Right. So let's take it from a 10,000 foot level, Ryan. Some of our listeners might not be familiar with the FastICE system. If you were to describe the FastICE system to somebody that's not around a rink or has never seen it, how would you describe the FastICE system and what it does?
So what it does essentially, we've all kind of seen the flood boom that we build ice in, that we install rinks with. Essentially, it's that mounted to the rear of the Zamboni conditioner. And then up in the driver's seat, there's a display that shows everything from speed to the flow rate of the water. So essentially what you do when you're starting your flood, you can set how much water you want to put out. If it's a AAA midget team that's been on and you need to put a little more water, you can adjust just using a dial. It's that easy. And then, or if you have a novice team or tykes even or something like that, you're able to reduce the amount of water that you're putting out. And essentially what it does is it just mists the ice behind you instead of using the traditional flood bar and towel. And the big thing with that is that you're not pouring the water to it. So the ice sets up quite a bit faster than if you were using the traditional towel and flood bar. And that's a big thing for us, because we touched on earlier, we're a very busy facility. We're one of the largest tournament facilities in southwestern Ontario. We host tournaments basically from September to March every weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and we're flooding from 8 a.m. till 11 p.m. at night. So it's a lot of use. And
sure.
Having
how many
something pads? We're a 4-pad ice rink. We have 1 Olympic size pad and then 3 NHL size pads.
Right. So typically, how many floods would your facility be doing in a day on the 4 pads? How many total for a day?
Per pad, we can do anywhere from, we'll be doing 10 to 20 floods depending. Throughout the week isn't quite as busy, but when we come into those big tournaments on the Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, we can do anywhere from 20 and sometimes we can do up to 30 floods depending on what tournament we're hosting. So there's a lot of use on our ice.
Wow, wow. So you obviously see the benefit of the FastICE system being able to set up quicker, as you mentioned earlier, to be able to get the turnaround as far as time, so the user groups can get on the ice and utilize it for the hour and a half they need to, obviously, correct?
Absolutely. Yeah, we've seen a big difference in having the FastICE compared to the towel and flood bar. The biggest thing is later on in the day in one of those big tournaments when you've already done maybe 10, 11, 12 floods, you can see the ice quality start to deteriorate a little bit. And that's just, there's not a lot you can do as an operator or manager, when that starts to happen, other than just, your refrigeration plant can only keep up so much. And when you're having that much of a load on it, it definitely takes its toll. So, but we have seen with the FastICE that the ice holds up a lot better, the quality of it throughout a busy day of flooding. And I think, again, that all comes down to safety. And when you're the operator and the manager, that's kind of key. I mean, you want to put out a quality sheet, but at the end of the day, it comes down to safety for users.
Right. Now, you just recently took delivery of a brand new Zamboni 526, both with FastICE level ice. Have you had a chance to use version 2?
Yeah, so actually, I've been the only one in the facility that's used it. Just with everything going on, obviously, we're not near as busy as we are. We're maybe down to one flood every couple weeks. But yeah, so I'm the only one that's used it so far. So I've got a little bit of experience with it, more so in the setup and things like that. I don't have a lot of feedback from operators yet on it, but I have seen a few things that I do like.
Yeah, sure. Sure. What are those?
Sure. I think even just the overall the quality, I guess you could say, just the buttons themselves on the computer screen, they seem a little more durable. I really like the way it's mounted using the cotter pins opposed to, it was a spring and pin system on the old one, and it would kind of wear out a little bit. This seems a little more manageable. If it's one person doing a blade change and they need to remove it themselves, it's a little more manageable that way.
You're speaking of the boom.
Yeah, on the boom, yeah. And also like that the nozzles actually on the boom itself on the ends are pointed inwards. What we found with the version 1 was they were just kind of straight down. And what we were getting was a lot of overspray on the boards, and we call it a ghost line, but when we're kind of doing our last pass up the middle, you'd get kind of a discolored just overspray onto the finished ice that you've already done, and it would kind of leave a line, and people would think that the flood was unfinished or whatever. But anyway, so having those pointed in, even just doing a couple floods with it, I've noticed that it reduces that a lot. So we aren't going to get the buildup on the dasher board or anything like that that we saw with version 1, which will be nice. Our operators will like that for ice maintenance purposes.
Right, right. So let's take it to another level, Ryan. Talk about the science of ice and ice building. Talking going from a typical traditional flood, a flood bar with a towel into version 1 FastICE. What have you noticed? What have you seen? Talk a little bit more about your facility as far as, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think you folks have a reverse osmosis system. Is that correct?
We do, yeah. We have one. We have two actually. We have two separate Zamboni rooms that each one services 2 pads. So we kind of split the rink up into essentially twin pads. So we have 2 526s with Zambonis, that is with FastICE and laser, and they service all 4 pads. And then we do use the RO water for flood making.
And what temperature water are you using when you apply through the FastICE system?
We're usually 140 degrees.
All right, great, great. Have you folks noticed the savings as far as water usage with the FastICE compared to the traditional flood pipe towel system?
I don't have anything like concrete to like kind of back that up, but I do notice if you do a flood with the towel and the flood bar, you notice that kind of when you come off for the from the flood, that there's a little more water in the tank than if you were using the FastICE. Again, it'd be interesting to see how much you would use in a traditional flood. Compare that to the FastICE. I know with the FastICE, we're typically anywhere from 90 to 120 gallons per flood. And again, that's all up on the display. So it's kind of nice to have that information. But as far as how much you're using in the typical flood, I don't have that information. And so it's hard to make that comparison.
Right, right. What about your refrigeration plant and the compressors and runtime? Do you notice a difference between post FastICE to now using FastICE?
Yeah, we've definitely seen a decrease in run hours on our cold floor pumps and compressor with the FastICE. We typically we'll look at the trending. Our plant operates off the surface temperature of the ice, so we have infrared cameras that read the temperatures. So we'll look at the trending on that, and we've compared doing a typical flood bar and towel flood to the FastICE, and you can see that the how much quicker the ice is setting up utilizing the FastICE. And I mean, you can just see that as an operator visually when you're doing the flood, that it's within a lap or 2 laps on the Zamboni, your ice is basically set up, and all that's doing is it's decreasing the run hours on our pumps and compressor and the overall refrigeration plant. So we're gonna see savings utility wise for sure by having that.
Right, right. What about as far as ice maintenance and related man hours to prepare the ice? It doesn't sound like you have a lot of time due to how busy your facility is, but have you seen the system coming into play and being able to execute and still in a quicker manner, but still be able to deliver a quality product?
Absolutely, yeah, and you nailed it there. That we really don't have a lot of downtime. We may have 1 day throughout the week that's suitable for ice maintenance. So in the wintertime, we actually do have a midnight operator that looks after that. And absolutely, having the FastICE as a tool for ice maintenance, we've seen a big difference in that. Whether we want to shave rinks down, brighten them up, and then we have to build them up overnight. And using FastICE, it's just as if you're using the flood boom to install a rink, because you can put small amounts of water on at a time and control that. You're actually able to build faster, and that's kind of rule of thumb with installing rinks, that less is more when it comes to the amount of water you're applying.
Right, right. Understandable. So you folks are a high profile facility. Correct me if I'm wrong. It's the home of the London Nationals, the Junior B Club, and also the London Knights Junior A practice facility. Is that correct?
Yeah, you're correct.
Yeah. And any feedback from the players, from coaches, noticing the quality of ice at their home rink or practice facility for the London Knights compared to traveling on the road? Did they ever speak to operations and talk about what the difference they see in the ice due to the fact of using the FastICE system?
Yeah, a little bit. Especially the London Knights are a lot more vocal, kind of about ice quality and things like that, and we'll ask them from time to time just to kind of get an idea of how they feel the ice is, and they like a really hard sheet of ice, and that makes it a lot quicker. So that feedback's good for us. And again, I think that all comes down to using the FastICE system, that we're able to make a harder sheet of ice, because again, you're using the spray system. You're only putting a certain amount of water down, and you're not over flooding the rink, I guess you could say, and having it set up a lot quicker. As we've learned that you get more oxygen in the water and in the ice, and it makes for a more brittle sheet of ice. So by not having that water kind of sit on the surface while it's setting up, you're able to make a lot harder sheet of ice, and we've definitely noticed that.
Right. Yeah, definitely. As far as expediting a solid bond as soon as the mist hits the ice compared to, as you mentioned, traditional floodwater. The other question I want to ask you, Ryan, is the download availability of information from the system. Do you take advantage of that? And have you referenced that information to try and better your standard operating procedure?
With version 1, we had started out downloading that information and kind of utilizing a little bit, but our computers, our actual PCs, the technology was it was too old to handle it, so we hadn't been for the last few years. So I know with version 2, we'll be able to definitely do that, and it is something that I'd like to take advantage of more. From a curiosity standpoint too, seeing how much water we use in a day. It's nice, you can see the speed the drivers are going and water temperature and things like that. So you can tell, is our water heaters, are they keeping up to the demand and things like that. So again, all that information is definitely helpful just from a management standpoint. From an operator standpoint, it's really nice. It's nice to know that no matter kind of what experience we have behind the driver's seat, that we're able to get that consistent sheet of ice. And like I said, both our Zambonis are equipped with the FastICE and the laser system. So we're really utilizing that technology and having so many drivers and less experienced drivers and things like that. It's nice to know that no matter kind of who's behind the wheel, we can put out a consistent sheet of ice until those less experienced guys can gain more experience and things like that. It's nice to have those tools, at our disposal to kind of make the operation a lot easier.
Right. And how do you go about? Do you guys have a standard operating procedure for training your new staff that come on board, or when it comes to new items on your Zamboni, new features?
Yeah, so actually one of the biggest helps has been the videos that the Zambonis put out online as far as training, and I've actually utilized those quite a bit in our training of our new drivers and even the experienced operators, and just kind of it's never a bad thing to learn something new. So being able to utilize that, especially having up to 25, 30 staff members, so you can't sit them all down and do formal training all the time, just because of varying shifts and things like that. So to be able to have those resources available to them and be able to send them out and they can watch it on their phone or anything like that. And I'm a big believer in the training and things like that of our operators and kind of getting that information to them. So we make them watch a lot of videos, read a lot of material before they even sit in the seat, and then we do our hands-on training as well. So again, it's just it's good from our standpoint to ensure that everybody's trained the same way and they're all kind of watching the same material and learning from the same people, and I think that's important.
That's a great point. Great point. So some of your operators, let me ask you, Ryan, are they actually working at other facilities in around the area, perhaps that don't have FastICE? And if that's the case, do they actually share with you the experiences of going from the FastICE system back to traditional with towel and flood pipe?
Yeah, so we do have a few. Some of the part-time employees work at some of the municipal rinks in the area, and yeah, they've definitely noticed that difference. I guess one thing is it's a lot easier to do the flood. There's not a whole lot to do while you're doing the flood now because everything's the machines are kind of working for you. But they definitely notice the difference between the floods for sure.
So Ryan, we talked a little bit earlier about run times of your refrigeration plant. Have you noticed a difference in the temperature that you guys are setting for your surface and slab temps due to the fact of having the FastICE system in play now?
Sure, yeah. And like I said earlier, we run off surface temperature using the infrared cameras, and since taking over using the FastICE, we've been able to actually raise those temperatures from where we would normally have them. So for example, on a tournament, we could run anywhere from 19, 20 to 21 degree surface temp. And since using the FastICE, we've been able to go, 22, 23, even 24 on certain pads. So again, that's just only going to translate into savings on the utility side of things, because our refrigeration plant isn't going to be working as hard to drive that temperature down and try to maintain that temperature. And with the FastICE, we're able to keep it where we want to. And like I said earlier, it's you notice those things later in the day, like the ice quality and the temperatures would be hovering quite high traditionally. So using the FastICE, we haven't noticed that as much. So so it's been good.
And still maintaining the integrity, the quality of the ice surface as well. It's even though you're running a higher temperature. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. We haven't. It's still very cold. Like we've noticed that it's very hard ice still, even at those temperatures. And again, I think that's all in the way that the ice is being built using the FastICE.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Ryan. You're a multi-use facility, are you not? With other type of skating events taking place and other sporting events.
Yeah, we've really expanded that from being just a hockey centric facility, and that started from when I first started working there, where we changed our board system to allow for sledge hockey. As well, we have speed skating, figure skating, and then even this year we just hosted the Continental Cup of curling. And then last year we had hosted the Para Hockey Cup through Hockey Canada, which is a sledge hockey challenge. So we're really expanding our usage and our facility.
Continental Cup. I mean, this is something that's I know it takes place down in Las Vegas every year, and when I actually heard about it coming to Canada, coming to the Western Fair Sports District, that was pretty exciting. Knowing a lot of local curlers, I think that facility was jam-packed for that event, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it was received very well. And London's a very big curling community, and we had people coming from all over, and it's the perfect size venue. It seats about 1,500, and it was the perfect venue to hold something like that. It was definitely a big challenge for our team, having to remove glass and things like that. We're not typically used to that. We aren't a conversion facility, so getting the opportunity to do that though was a great experience. It was a lot of work, and it was received very well, and we're pretty proud of the product we put out there. So it was good.
So let me ask you, Ryan. I'm an arena manager working at a facility XYZ location. I come up to you and say, Ryan, what's that on the back of your machine? You tell me it's FastICE. What would you say to me as far as me operating that system in my facility? What kind of feedback would you be giving me on the FastICE system?
So again, I think it's the type of system that anybody can use. If facilities are looking for that consistency in their ice, I know there's definitely a cost associated with that, and then maybe smaller municipalities, they overlook things like that. And I mean, that's more than fair. They have to maintain that budget. And Western Affairs, we're no different. We're a private facility, so we need that revenue from rentals and things like that. But we've always kind of been willing to invest in that technology, and I think we're in that age where technology is going to become a big part of, it's a huge part of everyday life, and it's going to only increase. And I think especially from an arena standpoint, it's going to be interesting to see kind of where things go. But I'd say if you're a smaller facility, twin pad, even a single pad, I don't see why there's any reason why they couldn't utilize this type of technology. It's going to save them on utilities and things like that. And as well, it's just going to be a more consistent and safer product. And I think at the end of the day, that's a huge focus for arenas is just safety.
That's great feedback, Ryan. And I gotta thank you. Someone that's been around the industry as long as you have and has had the experience to utilizing both version 1 FastICE and version 2. I'm sure your door's open, your phone's available for other arena facility management people within the industry to reach out to you and hopefully ask you more questions about it. Our listeners that'll be listening to this podcast. So I want to thank you, Ryan, for being our guest today on Ask the Zamboni Experts. I know you're a busy guy. Right now, it's not as busy, but doing 20 to 80 floods a day at your facility, when things get back to whatever normal looks like, you're definitely going to be a busy man. But thank you very kindly for taking the time to chat with us and bring your expertise and knowledge about FastICE. And I welcome our listeners to join us again on our next podcast. Everyone have a great day. Ryan, thank you. Have a wonderful day and all the best.
Yeah, thanks for having me again, Marty.